BPod Studios.
Zolak and Bertrand get you through the workday at 10. Right now, it's Toucher and Hardy on the Sports Hub.
Hey, we're Toucher and Hardy. This hour of our show is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. We've talked about this week the David Lee Roth radio show and, everyone's podcast, this podcast, that. There are probably literally 5 million podcasts, 6 million, 7 million, 8 million podcasts in the world. And I would say out of those podcasts, 100 make money. Literally. So you have like a 1,000,000 to 1 shot of making money with your podcast, basically.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And so, if you are a young person and you want to get into the audio field, instead of just sitting in your room and doing a podcast, someone would pay you to come to a radio station to do something. And at least you're guaranteed someone's going to hear you there instead of just broadcasting into an ether. But sometimes, and if you don't believe me that everyone has a podcast, everyone that I followed on Instagram, like celebrities, like the people from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, a TV show I like, now they all have podcasts. I like New Girls, so I started following Jake Johnson on Instagram. He's got a podcast. Like every single person has a podcast. There's just not enough time. John Daly, who is a comedian that was on the Kroll Show, has a podcast. Like all these guys have podcasts. They just all do, and there's just not enough time, literally, in the world to listen to all of them. Even if you are a fan of the person, there just isn't. I find it very difficult to believe people listen to the Kelsey Brothers podcast. I just don't think they do. I think people listen to that Smartless podcast because they just made up $100 million. And people obviously listen or at least download the Joe Rogan podcast. I have it very hard to believe that people sit down there for 2.5 hours when he has like a professor of archaeology on.
And you're not exaggerating either. Like, there are certain comedians that I like, Fred, like you. Like, I wanted to listen to the Nate Bargatze podcast because they would show up in my feed just as reels, and there'd be like something funny and there was something happen. And then you download it, and it's 2 hours long. I'm like, well, I'm never going to listen to this.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. Like, I see the podcasts, like, reels. Those I see. Like, I see, like, a lot of, like, for some reason, Theo Vaughn, who I think probably has a fairly interesting podcast. I see the reels, but I'm talking about sitting down and listening to something for over an hour or an hour. Just, it's not happening. There's not enough. Well, Howie Mandel, who, in podcast form, I wonder how he blows the surgical glove up over his face.
Well, Fred, yeah, we've demonstrated and proven here that you can do things with latex, balloons, gloves, whatever, and have it work in an audio medium. So I'm not going to fault him for doing
well, that almost entirely lives on Twitch, and thereby Nick making the video for our socials.
Oh.
Because Howie Mandel, everyone knows what he does is he goes bananas at the end of his set, and he puts a surgical glove over his face. He's been wearing them on his hands on the account. He doesn't like germs. And then he puts it on his face, and he blows it up, and then it goes flying off his head. And then he talks like a little kid for an hour and a half, and it never gets annoying.
He does the voice.
Yeah, Bobby.
Yeah.
It's really funny. But he's got a podcast.
His podcast is called Welcome to Howie Mandel Does Stuff. Welcome to the most quick-witted and inappropriate podcast of all time.
I can only imagine. He's salty.
By comedian Howie Mandel and his co-host and daughter, Jacqueline Schultz. Together, these two make prank phone calls, discuss pop culture, interview interesting people, say weird things, chat with listeners, get deep.
How do they chat with listeners? It's not on live. And then, so basically he does interviews.
Apparently, and as was put out there a couple of days ago, he wanted to have Dana White on his podcast.
Who we've had on here. He's a Massachusetts guy. He's been on this show very many times.
Yes.
He's lowered himself to do local radio.
So the the headline everywhere is that Dana White storms off of the Howie Mandel podcast 30 seconds into the interview. And I heard it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I watched it. So we're going to hear it right now. This is the entirety of Dana White's appearance on the Howie Mandel podcast.
Not only an amazing businessman, you are an inspiration, you are a philosopher. The way you do business, the way you conduct your business and your friendships and media is, I'm jealous. But Dana, I can't thank you enough for being here.
Thank you for all the kind words. I appreciate it. I am so fucking tired of doing podcasts.
That's not censored in the least.
No. Wow. That one got by, huh? Well, it didn't get by me, but it got
Stream
by the
wins
original
again.
sentence.
Well, if
the
you were
stream wins.
Now, who was responsible for censoring that?
I'm not throwing anyone
Yeah,
under
we're not
the
going to say
bus.
Ryan. We're not going to say it rhymes with Ryan.
Ryan.
We're awake here now. We're
Cheating.
In fairness, it is a 30-second clip. So, he really had to sift through
You couldn't
that.
have expected to sit through that whole thing.
We were just playing it as a kicker, and then
I don't know if I can play the last 5 seconds when he.
people in the hallway were like, "Wow, we heard that." Wow.
come to the end of the audio.
No,
here.
I don't think that it's necessary.
But that's it. He says, "I'm so effing tired of being on these podcasts. I'm not going to do it." And he takes his headset and walks off. Now, hearing that, you're like, "Oh, what a jerk! What a meanie!"
No, you do. Well, no. When you first hear it, you go, "What is this introduction?" It's weird. Like, why? First thing you think is, why does Howie Mandel? Are there just these huge St. Elsewhere fans that are just clamoring to hear what he has to say on the issues of today?
He's been a judge on America's Got Talent for years.
Exactly. But what about Howie Mandel in any way, shape, or form would have me want to hear him interview anyone?
There's nothing that makes you want to listen to this in the first place. After hearing the long setup, you want to listen even less. Just get to it already. And then Dana White walks off. When I watched the video and I saw Howie doing this open-mouthed, wide-eyed stare as he walks off and no one says anything, I thought to myself, oh, this is all BS. This is not real. Because if I took off my headset right now and just said, you know what, this show sucks, I don't want to do it anymore.
Just make sure you swear or something.
Yeah, and walked off.
Well, no, because Ryan would dump it.
Would you just sit here in silence and say nothing?
No, but I'm better at this than Howie Mandel is. See, by watching it, I would like to think that Dana White walked out of it because he went, why am I doing all these and sat down, and then he came to the conclusion, like, this is a phenomenal waste of time. Really, how many people are going to seek this out? How much good does this do for me? I've been sitting at these podcasts. And by the way, when you do a podcast, it's not like you pop in and do 15 minutes. The phone, it's live out into the air in the market that you're in, and that you're, like, for instance, Dan Soder comes on the show yesterday, and when he gets over his big beef with us, he's selling a show in this town the 2 nights from now, and it happens, and he comes on for 20 minutes. We shoot the S, and then he's gone. These podcasts, you got to go in there, and you got to talk to someone who doesn't do it for a living, and you got to talk to him for at least an hour. So I imagine the 10th one you did, maybe he did stand up and go, you know what, why? He heard the introduction, and he realized this is Howie Mandel. He's a very below-average comedian. He's someone whose list of credits is not very impressive.
He's as far from my target audience for my product as possible.
His daughter's sitting right next to him, and the only one who gets away with that now is Ron Bennington. And so why am I here? Why am I here? So I would like to believe there was part of him, and I would like to believe that Howie Mandel is so terrible at this and such a pussy that when Dana White got up, first of all, I guess I'd laugh because I think he was kidding. But and then I go, is he really leaving? But maybe Howie Mandel is so ill-equipped to be on an audio-only medium that he doesn't realize the need to say what's going on in the room. So if it's fake or not, if they faked it, it sucks. And it doesn't encourage me to listen to it. And if it's real, it sucks. And none of that is shocking to me because you're out of your mind, and they should save you the trouble and just take away your driver's license if you download the Howie Mandel podcast. Oh, you know who I love is that Howie Mandel. Oh, I've heard he's interviewing people of interest. Who else has Howie Mandel had on that show? Show me who else Howie Mandel has on.
Well, he had Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Oh, what does Howie Mandel have to say to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the guy who can't win president? Oh, I got to see Howie Mandel talking to him. He has the balls to talk to him. Howie Mandel.
Andrew Dice Clay.
Oh, Howie Mandel. What's he got to say to Andrew Dice Clay 25 years ago?
Ed Begley Jr.
Oh, they were on St. Elsewhere.
Jason Alexander.
Oh, what's he going to say to the guy that played the guy on the Seinfeld?
The one guy from Seinfeld that you want to talk to the least. Nothing against Jason Alexander, but it'd be Jerry.
No.
It'd be Michael Richards.
It would be Michael Richards 1.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I might go Louis-Dreyfus 2.
Yeah, she's a delight.
You left one guy out.
She's not intimidating you with those things on her job.
You left one guy out.
Who?
John Stamos. John Stamos, a guest of the Howie Mandel podcast.
Oh, I hadn't gone through the entire episode.
I just happened
we were
to
still
see
going
it.
through Seinfeld at that point.
Yeah.
You took a little left turn on us.
Yeah. There's no reason to listen to it in the first place. I got to believe this was a stunt to get people to know that the podcast actually
Tell me
exists.
when he digs up Al Goldstein from Screw Magazine and has him on.
That guy would be interesting, having watched him on TV.
Can you imagine going like, all right, let's see, there's a bunch of podcasts out there. Like the guy from H2O has a podcast. Like everyone has a podcast. The dude from Less Than Jake has a podcast. Everyone from every show, the people that did Boy Meets World have a podcast. Everyone, legitimately everyone has a podcast. You know what I'm going to spend the next hour and a half doing? I want to see Howie Mandel talk to Jason Richards. That's what I want. Out of all the things I can consume while I'm walking my dog, that's what I want to hear. Stop it. Stop it. I want to hear the Kelsey brothers talk about themselves. That's what I want to hear. Get out of here.
I don't know who has the time for this stuff. People with long
No,
commutes
and I'm not
maybe.
talking about making it. I get why you make them. It's nothing to you. Just go make a podcast.
Right.
But the idea that there's millions of them and you're going to sift through all of that you could only, even if you were the biggest podcast fan in the world, you could only listen to 5 a week. So, that's all you're doing. You're listening to 5 a week. That leaves 5 million of them unlistened to. Anchorman's my second favorite movie of all time, but there's a Ron Burgundy podcast, and it sucks because it's not good, because it's a movie, not a podcast.
He does an entire podcast in character?
Yes, and it's not funny. But now the Hello guys did a podcast, and it was brilliant, and I've listened to it many, many times.
You and me both.
So, I do listen to podcasts from time to time.
But I will give them credit. Some of their episodes were like 18 minutes.
Yeah, and then they stopped doing it after 7.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah. And they made fun of, why are we not in the Apple Tunes top 10?
I had the time of our life
Yes.
doing the podcast.
That goes on for a long time.
Really, that's the longest segment of that entire podcast.
This is live local radio, baby, talking to you about your hoops teams, your teams that are on the ice, and the guys throwing around the skins.
Do it.
And the fools down in Fort Myers. We'll be back. John, do you have emails for us?
I do. I have a couple here.
A couple or a few?
2.
All right,
Two
because Ryan
emails
already
here.
missed a swear.
All right.
So
I
there's a
got
lot
2.
of pressure on you.
I know.
Okay. All right, we'll be right back.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Country music has so many generous artists who always seem to jump in to help those in need. We're spotlighting 5 who lead by example and lend a helping hand to charitable causes. See who made our list when you text GIVE to 45911. Text GIVE to 45911 and read all about it right now on BackstageCountry.com.
Twitch feed of this is going to be used all around the internet.
Get up.
The cat is finally out of the bag.
Get up.
We're back. Toucher and Hardy.
Get up.
98.5 The Sports Hub.
You know, I got an idea for a bit. The email bit. We should do the email bit. It's a great idea. Let's do the email bit.
Hey, it's emails. They're the bomb.
Yeah.
All right, John. JON.
At 985thesportshub.com.
Yes.
This is actually to all three of us.
Proceed.
It's actually for all three of us. Ducks have a corkscrew-shaped penis. Is that why you hate them so much, Waldick? Are you genital shaming other birds? I would expect nothing less from someone who turns his back on his own religion. Also, I'd ask Kyle Bailey about Grant Williams, but he won't take my calls because I made fun of him too much. Love, Matt.
You know why they have those kinds of penises is the female duck has a maze-like vagina, and I guess that male ducks are incredibly aggressive, and it's almost nature's way of like going, whoa.
You're a bit more. Nature is saying,
slow down. Like it's a little bit of protection for the female duck.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's the Lord's way, or evolution, or both. I mean, evolution, something had to start from somewhere.
So you're saying the mallard is not a gentle lover?
No, apparently the mallard can be quite aggressive, and nature has taken care of that, or at least helped a little bit, by making the whole process a little incomplicato.
Okay. Interesting. No idea.
And I'm not making that up.
Huh.
I just enjoy things with unusual Gentiles.
Someone's been watching National Geographic. Very impressive.
No. I get Unusual Genital Monthly.
Oh, good.
It used to be a weekly, but now the publishing industry is falling on hard times.
I understand.
Hardy told me you can still subscribe to the Tactile Hustler.
Oh, yeah. When we were having the Larry Flint and Hustler discussion the other day, I went on the website. You can subscribe to digital only, but you can still get the published version of Hustler delivered to your home monthly.
And if you want to make it friends with the mailman.
And it's not incredibly expensive. I was surprised.
Really?
Yeah. Because I thought for sure, that's going to cost, $250 a year or something.
But do you think you get on some list like the Rob Report starts coming to your house, like you start getting yachts? Like they know that you're obviously a man of class.
Right.
Like you start getting all these like pesky Rolex catalogs.
$44.95 a year.
Huh.
Start your own Hustler original subscription that began in July of 1974 with regular monthly delivery of Hustler print magazine.
Yay!
$45
That's a lot cheaper than I thought it was.
Yay! It's for the common man. You can get delivered to prison.
I got an email yesterday from us after the Dan Soder interview. He did not like it. You got it, Fred. You got it also, Fred. That might be the dumbest guest you guys ever had. What a stupid thing to be upset about. And, Freddie, I don't know how you kept your composure and didn't Jim Graham. I was hoping for a classic toucher fight and a hang-up after Dan Soder was very upset about someone on the show letting the cat out of the bag about the nickname for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Well, I knew if I let it play out, eventually Rich would look bad.
Well done.
Thank you. I mean, he had every right to be upset. He told us, if you don't know the story, Dan Soder told us a story about, I can repeat it because he repeated it yesterday, that Mike McDaniel is his best friend. And Mike McDaniel was the running game coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers at the time. And he was saying that they called Jimmy Garoppolo Dirk Diggler because he was good looking and dumb. And among other things, too. But that's what I guess I recall. And I don't recall him saying that's privileged information. Don't say it. It's not even that bad a thing. I mean, Garoppolo's dumb and good looking. And so I said it. I know I said it on the air, but apparently, and I don't recall this, so it must not have been that good, that Rich went out to the Super Bowl when it was in Miami and asked Mike McDaniel that, or asked Kyle Shanahan that at Media Day. And then Kyle Shanahan went to Dan Soder and went like, what the hell? Like, why'd you tell anyone that?
And according to the show Facebook page, which T-Bone found, on January 28th, which would have been Super Bowl week? That seems early.
Well, they just added the extra week between then and now, right? So they just added the 17th game between then and now.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So,
all
yeah,
right.
that makes sense.
The post on January 28th, 2020 on the show Facebook page is, Kyle Shanahan told us that Jimmy Garoppolo has been given the nickname Dirk Diggler, and this is a quote, because he can make any throw. He can make it all happen and just do it over. Wherever you want it, he'll put it there.
All right. Well, I didn't do the Facebook page, obviously. That was Rich's, was running those as personal accounts for some reason. Now they're just basically Nicky making sweet vids.
You got any email there, Fred?
I got one. It's called, it's from Neverfold. And that's, I hope this guy's not doing my laundry. That's what they call me at the poker tables.
I got one from Never Fluff. You don't want him doing laundry or helping on the set of the movie you're making either.
They don't exist, actually. That never happened. That is something. The fluffer never existed.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
That is a tall tale.
Okay.
Waldick is calling the Bryant game on ESPN Plus right now if you want to hear him talk about gross bullocks for 2 hours. Did you do the Bryant game yesterday?
Last night, yep.
How'd you make it in on time?
What, here?
How did Bryant do?
They won. They won 77-72 over Maine.
Okay, and how many? Can you see how many people are watching it anytime on ESPN Plus?
I haven't asked, but I will. I have another game tomorrow. I will ask.
If you had to guess, if we held your life to it, if there was a pot of $100 in the middle of us, and it was an over/under, we get the $100 if you go. If you go over, we get it if you go under.
Oh, that's good.
What would you put it? What would you put the number at, Johnny boy?
Not a tremendous amount.
Yeah, because there's 100 smackers on the table.
I would say probably 1,000.
Oh,
I'll take
John.
I'll take the under.
I will take the under and
Okay.
run. I might as well just take the $100.
Okay. I will ask and give you the honest answer. Well, you're not going to be here, but I will tell you the honest answer on Monday.
Yeah, and I'll make sure to get that information to you as quick as I
I
can.
know.
I'll, because one time Bird was calling something.
Everett High School.
No, but he also does Northeastern stuff.
Okay.
And so I just, which is a bigger college than Bryant. And he was, and better athletically. And he was at, calling something. And I went, it popped up on my YouTube. And so I went and I clicked on it. And I got very self-conscious because I was the viewer.
Oh, boy.
And I figure if you're the viewer, they know you're there, right?
Yeah.
Because
pretty
my
much.
name on YouTube is some combination of like
Then
my
the
name.
emails start for Northeastern tickets, and yeah.
No. It's just that I would imagine the people announcing the game would know I'm the one
Fred,
watching.
hang in there, Fred. We'll be right back.
Yeah, exactly. Like now there's like an intense amount of pressure on me to like keep watching.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
But I've literally been the one watching when Bird does something at college.
Have you ever done that and really thought about it when someone's doing like an Instagram live and you hop on? I'm like, oh, look for a second, and you're one of 8 people. And
Yeah, I
you're
hate
like,
it.
Oh God.
Yeah, I won't
now,
do it.
Now after 10 seconds, you want to leave. Like, oh, you're gonna see that I showed up. And
Well,
left.
on
What do you mean?
OnlyFans, I usually try to predict when the girls are going to go on live, so it's just me and them, and it's like we're dating in real life.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay. I have a nice email here that I just want to get out there. Okay, it's like a public service thing.
Yeah, please.
Hey, Fred and Hardy, this is Jack Byrne, longtime listener, head football coach at Wyndham High School, Southern New Hampshire.
Well, Jack Byrne, just put a little calamine on it.
Our football program will be the first New England high school team to play American football internationally when we head to Dublin this August.
Oh, who cares?
But I'm trying to connect with any sports-related groups in New England, see if there's any chance for some small coverage or support. I have some kids who will struggle to pay for this big trip, and they've got some fundraising efforts.
Imagine that. They can't afford to go to Dublin.
Any support or pointing me in the right direction will be a huge help to our players and families. I replied to his email, Fred. I'm guessing you did not. I said I'd be happy to mention
Ernie Bach Jr. He's got all the money in the world.
I'll mention it on the air, Jack. So go online, start searching for links for the Wyndham High School football team.
Why try to cure cancer or help the victims of Kansas City violence when you could send these kids to Dublin?
globalfootball.com/Wyndham School to Ireland in 2024.
You know the girl from,
everybody write that down. Everybody got that?
You know the girl from Who's the Boss got in a lot of hot water because she had a GoFundMe for a kid's baseball trip. Did you see that?
No, I never
Alyssa
saw
Milano?
Wow.
She was in hot water for that.
Yeah.
Teen steam indeed.
Well, you know what? Next time, save the money you made from Commando, and you won't need to be begging for money to get your kids' team to go to Williamsport.
You think she had back end on Commando?
Probably not.
And I'm not talking about the kind of back end that you like,
Don't.
John. I'm talking about back end, like in the finances.
She was a child.
I said that's not what I was talking about.
Well, that's how I took it.
Well, that's precisely why I did, because I knew your mind would go there, because you have a simple guttural mind. Fred, why does Howie Mandel sound like Nick Gemelli? I guess he's talking about my impression. I kind of just have a normal voice for idiots.
Oh no, boy! It's nice that it's Nick getting it a little bit now, because mostly it's Wallach on these emails. Wallach, what's up with your love for Seattle? First, it's the borderline Brokeback Mountain love for Ken Griffey. Now every time I see a clip of the show, you're wearing that dumbass Kraken hat.
He's so proud that he's been to Seattle.
I'm no bird expert, but I didn't think migratory patterns went east-west, but I could be wrong. Sam
that
from
true?
Rhode Island.
What, east-west? I don't know the answer to that. Usually it's south. You want to get warm. Seattle's not. Seattle is not warm for a long
but it's
period
right
of
there
time.
on the water.
I know it is.
I mean, you could catch fish until you fill your belly.
Puget Sound all day, baby. That's the way we roll.
What's up with the Kraken hat?
I got it when I was out on a family vacation. Went to Seattle and Vancouver in
He
the
gets so
summer.
proud of himself. They stayed in the same hotel room, all four of them.
Yep. And I was in Vancouver, not in Seattle. But yes, that's true.
You got a relative out there in Seattle, right?
But you have a hockey team.
I have family that's lived out there since the early 90s.
Yeah, but when people see that, they go, where'd you get that hat? He goes, Seattle. They go, you've been in Seattle?
That's exactly it. That's why I wear it.
They go, all right, clear the decks.
You well-traveled individuals, that won't work on you. But other people are more susceptible.
He's a raconteur. They immediately come in, and he's like, oh, and I also have some insurance you might be interested in buying. Well, if you've been to Seattle, do tell.
Everyone out there is buying it. Don't you want to be like them, the cool people of Seattle, Washington? That's right.
And I said this yesterday, but Ron Duguay now dates Sarah Palin.
I looked that up yesterday. That's right.
Ron Duguay looks real nice.
Yeah, he does.
He hasn't slowed down a bit. I bet you my friend's mom would still really like to have sex with him. To this day. That was still weird. I remember the table we were sitting at. I remember what his mom looked like, and I remember his mom just going, oh, Ron Duguay, I would love to have sex with him. And I was just like, that's my friend's mom. I wasn't used to people talking that way. I wasn't used to it. All right, we'll be back. We'll have the stack for you, and then we're going to wrap this thing up in a bow. And then John and I go into the chamber and just come up with next week's shows, because Hardy's like, you know what, I've done enough. I've done 5 weeks of shows.
Time for me to get out
of here.
Yeah.
He said, I've done enough.
You know what? I got to figure out a way to where I can take a week's vacation every 5 weeks, because this feels about right doing this show. 5 on, 1 off.
Thanks a lot. Oh. Man, you're just going to be like the management of the Red Sox. Taking a day off.
Absentee.
All right, so we'll be back with the stack here.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Wondering who made our list of the top 5 all-time queens of country music? Did Carrie Underwood make the cut? Find out now when you text Queens to 45911 and scroll through the list on BackstageCountry.com. Text Queens to 45911 to see the talented artists who rounded out our top 5 list.
Dutcher and Hardy, the reviews are in.
I got to say, I don't want to talk about you. Give me about 5 minutes of my time.
What he said. Now more of on the Sports Hub. We know what what you're thinking? What could I possibly have missed from the show? It's time for The Stack on Toucher and Hardy.
Hey, everybody. It's Hardy's last day for a week. He's out. He's going to Branson, Missouri with the family. He's going to a revival. This hour, Toucher and Hardy brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel. The Stack is brought to you by Best Ford in Nashua. Looking for great deals on a new Ford? Go to the Best First. Best Ford in Nashua. For more info, head to bestfordinashua.com.
First of all, it's not a revival. It's about fellowship. And what you do is you just get together and you talk about like-minded beliefs. And if there are snakes, then that's what those people believe in.
Will there be washing of feet? I've been led to believe that by the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a show called Airing It Out with Bob Papa. And then they talk about football. And I take it
Who's Bob Papa?
I don't know. But Charlie Weiss was on the show. And let me tell you who Charlie Weiss... Not a fan of.
Well, obviously I know what he's not a fan of, the celery industry.
No, he's not. But he was a fan of taking the bread that soaked up the bacon grease.
Yeah.
At the breakfast buffet and using that bread as the basis of a sandwich in which he would put eggs and bacon on.
Yeah.
And that bread was not there for consumption. But don't tell that to Charlie Weiss because he did it anyway.
And he was doing it, by the way, at a football facility, not at a vegan compound. You know, like and this is the same team that where Matt Light used to get into a stall with his lunch and just sit there in the stall and eat, and not because he was getting picked on.
That Charlie Weiss eating the bacon grease soaked bread as part of his sandwich, Zoe taking his lunch into the weight room. And eating lunch while other people worked out and just watching them. But my
You're saying that he's got some questions?
Jeez. No, it's saying like he wouldn't go in there to work out. He would just take his lunch in there.
Yeah, because
while
there's
other
all
guys
those
are working
beautiful
out.
fellas.
But my favorite lunch at Foxborough story is Zoe, who used to sit up in the little cafeteria that overlooked the practice field and eat lunch. And Parcells would bring in quarterbacks that he had no intention of putting on the roster or giving a job. But he would purposely bring them in to try them out while he knew Zoe was up there eating his lunch. And he'd swing his whistle around, and the guy would make like a decent throw. And Parcells would turn around and look up to where he knew Zoe was sitting and watching and kind of give him the, huh? Not bad. Not bad.
Really?
What an a-hole. Jesus Christ.
Well, that's going to make Scott feel good that Parcells was that interested in humiliating him.
Like that was just something that he did. And if it meant wasting the time of somebody who was out there on the street looking for a job, so be it. No, Charlie Weiss, not a fan of Tony Romo.
I wasn't listening to those guys because they really turned me off, I have to tell you. They turn me off. They do.
I wasn't listening to those guys. I was listening to Jimmy Dean tell me my problems would go away.
I mean, I listened at the end of the game.
I was listening to Mr. Stover's Candy tell me that my mom loved me.
Just steal them from Mrs. Wallach?
No, it's a Bob Wiley imitation, apparently.
I listened at the end of the game.
It's a generic fat guy.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm sorry, I don't do more voices, John.
Tony Romo ruined the moment.
He ruined the moment. I had everything set up. All my tissue so I could cry, and all the chocolates and sausages. And he ruined it all.
Just shut up and let us savor the moment.
Yeah, let us savor the cake. Come on. How else are my problems going to go away?
Just be quiet.
Mom used to make me cakes when I fell. And now I can have one and make myself feel good. I used to call those love sandwiches when I would pick up the bacon grease because Mom used to give me shots of bacon grease when I cried.
Just be quiet. Nance had already said jackpot.
Yeah, and I had already ate all the chips.
You know, like he had already said that should have been the end of the conversion.
Yeah, that should have been the end of the conversion. I'm sorry, my mouth's full. I meant to say conversation.
I don't need to hear your analysis of what just happened. I just watched it.
I mean, I had to stick Cheetos in my ears.
I want to watch the moment. I want to enjoy the moment.
I want to eat a sloppy Joes.
As a sports fan,
I don't need to get it all over my shirt. I bit into it and it went on my shirt and I felt humiliated.
Just shut up.
Yeah, jerk. My mom would give me a cookie when I came home from school crying. Now, in order to make love, I got to eat a cookie.
Now we're talking.
Hey, I had a hard day in school, Mommy.
Just shut up.
It's okay. Here is some bacon grease. Hey, Tony Romo, could you please shut up? Hey, everyone's left, and they left some cake.
Nance had already said jackpot.
Which is what I saw when I opened up the freezer.
So that is Charlie Weiss. Not
I know. One time my wife and I decided to take a trip to a farm. And when I opened up the door, I saw there was a pig pen, and I went, jackpot. Lunch. But I didn't know you had to take out the entrails before you ate them. So I just took a lighter and held it up to one of them while they were alive.
That should have been the end of the conversion.
Oh, blood. They're everywhere, blood. You ever try to eat a live pig? Oh, they bleed.
I don't
and
need to hear your analysis.
I'm like, you shut up, or why ain't you bacon yet?
Just shut up.
I couldn't find a pork chop of bacon. It was just real fatty and bloody.
Quit your squealing. How come you're not part of a stacked ham and cheese already?
Just shut up and let us savor the moment. Just be quiet.
2 pieces of Wonder Bread and 2 pieces of American cheese. I put the pig in the middle of them, and he was all wiggling around. And I said, why are you not making it like a sandwich yet?
Just shut up.
And then he started getting nervous and making duties.
No.
What?
Boy.
And he was covered in mud. I didn't like that. When you go to Honey Baked Ham, when you go to Honey Baked Ham, they're not covered in mud. And there is very little blood.
Better when they clean it up for you.
Oh, they clean it up beautifully.
Yeah.
They'll leave a bone in, though.
Oh.
It's called the shank.
Huh. You know, like he had already said that should have been the end of the conversion.
Now, excuse me, I'm having a heart attack. Pardon me. Oh, I have an obstructed bowel.
Oh, oh boy, are we doing a crossover today?
We're going to do a crossover.
All right, let's go. Let's step aside and do that. And we'll talk.
We're going to cross over Little Debbie with Duncan Hines.
You know, maybe we'll ask Zolak about the rumor about one of his whoobies there being involved with a certain some lady.
Franklin.
Now, more Tuncher and Hardy.
BackstageCountry.com, your online home for all things country music. Lainey Wilson is on a roll. She's delivering great music and teaming up with some of country's hottest acts. Text Lainey to 45911 to see which 4 Lainey Wilson collabs have us talking at BackstageCountry.com. Text Lainey to 45911 to get a link to the list sent right to your phone from BackstageCountry.com.
The Sports Hub.
All right, this is the crossover. We enjoy it with Zolak and Bertrand. Hardy's leaving for a week.
Oh, where you heading?
Jesus, that's
Whoa.
crap.
He's going to a Margaritaville resort. Going to changes in latitude, changes in attitude.
Branson. I headed to Branson.
Oh, how nice. You're going to see the opera things and all that?
No, we're not going to Branson.
He's going just to see the Russian comet.
You're doing the Florida thing that you asked about.
Yeah.
Good for you. Oh, you're going to love that.
I've been there. I've been to around where you've been.
Yeah.
Margaritaville, Hollywood.
Well, you know Ryan Johnston, who's in with your show today, his dad is retired to Margaritaville.
They're putting one in the Cape now. The Cape Codder is turning into the Margaritaville.
No, he lives in like a Margaritaville retirement community.
Yeah.
Oh, like the whole thing is themed Margaritaville?
Just no shoes, man, all day.
Wow.
And they can't expand it fast enough. It's in Panama City, but they can't expand it fast enough.
I love that Panhandle. Oh, my God.
See,
That's where everyone in Atlanta goes.
This is a big sticking point for me and the bride because I look at those places like the Villages where you just drive around in a golf cart and you have nothing but golf courses and little places to stop and eat. And I said, yeah, that's for me. I think I'd like that. And she won't have anything to do with it. Won't entertain it.
Just get divorced and you can do whatever you want.
Is that how it works?
Hey, that Sober Zone comment was funny.
He still hasn't gotten over it. After all the same look at him, he's crushed.
What's up, Wallach? Nice shirt.
Yeah, nice shirt, Wallach.
All right, what do you guys got going today?
Sports.
Oh, you're just sports?
No. We're gonna do some things today. I got Overdrive today. Start with that documentary that everybody's been waiting for, The Dynasty.
Are you gonna watch it?
If somebody gives me the link, yeah, because my condo's in it, all over it at the beginning.
The first two are out. You can watch that one on your own.
On Apple Plus.
I had the
Apple
condo,
Plus.
And I sold it to Ty, and Ty sold it to Tom, and that's my whole condo, my first condo here.
Oh,
Who'd you buy it from?
I bought it just off the market.
So you were the originator.
I was the first player in there, and eventually Ben Coates, Leonard Russell, Henry Thomas. We had like 5 guys in there.
You never lived in Quincy?
No, that was Slade. That was big money.
Okay, because a lot of those dudes lived where Crash lived.
Yeah, they used lighter fluid on gas grills. They had it going on, man.
Yeah.
Fire codes changed in Quincy after those guys lived there.
Yeah. That was the situation back in the day.
Yep.
I've lived here for a long time.
Well, I used to go to the tent all the time. There's stories.
Yeah, I know the tent.
Stories.
Yeah. The stuff in the sand.
I call Tank where he loves.
Wait, I know one of your stories.
Nope.
Non-traditional.
Nope. Tell me the story.
Non-traditional.
Things you don't expect to have happen in life,
weekend.
Fred. That's what that story's all about.
You ever been floored? Just
about the unknown.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, that's a good story.
Okay.
And then Tanguy goes, tell it again.
Life is full of surprises.
End up in my notebook.
And then he'd swear.
Yeah.
And then he'd swear.
There was an ex-quarterback sitting by the bay.
I'm going to write a book.
Yeah, it's about the quarterback and a lady. Doing it! All right, everyone have a great weekend. Hardy, enjoy your trip. Ryan Johnson will be with us on Monday, which we're working, even though it's a holiday, but then we can use that day later. Too. Well, it's February, and what else am I going to do? The heck with it.
All right, bye.
All right, yeah. I mean, as soon as my throat leaves, it's all vacation I got to take anyway. All right, that'll do it for us. Everyone have a great